Hello, welcome back, and thank you for joining me as we go over some new techniques for acrylic pouring. What I'm going to be looking at here today is some surface preparation options. I picked up a few different hydrophobic coatings or some sprays that are supposed to help water and other liquids roll right off of surfaces without sticking to them. And if you can see, I've taken the time ahead to put some masking tape around the edges, leaving a thin white border that I think would frame pretty nicely in these portraits, especially if they were framed inside with a little matted paper behind it. So I've never used a hydrophobic coating on anything, so I have no brand experience on what'll work well and what won't, which is what we're going to do at the start of this video. I have a generic, this is a windshield wiper fluid that I picked up at a home improvement store, and it claims to help water run off, so we'll see how that one goes. It is orange, which may or may not tint the surface below, so we'll look at that, see if there's any color change with these. Then I have Rain-X, which is also a windshield treatment, supposed to help glass resist water. Then finally I have Kiwi brand Performance Fabric Protector, which is supposed to be something that you can put on fabrics of any nature and it'll have the water roll right off. I have the most hope for this Kiwi fabric protector because, like fabric, the canvas surface that we'll be working with is also porous, meaning it'll soak in better. So if any of these work, I'm sure the Kiwi one will, but that's what we're here to find out, right? I'm going to take these, do a little test spray here. This bottle is not spraying. There we go. Okay, so I think I have a pretty good spray, pretty good nozzle setup on the generic windshield fluid. Let's give that a test. I'll hold this out. You know what? No, I'm not, because I don't want to get this all over my hand. Can you imagine coating your hand in a hydrophobic surface that repels water? You'd never be able to grab a glass of water again because it's always scooting away from your hand. It sounds terrible. I'm gonna get this rock out of the way a little bit, set the canvas a bit forward, hold this up at a nice angle, good distance so we can get some coverage, and give it a few good sprays there. Alright, that one's going to be drying while we continue working with our little experiment. Next up is the Rain-X. I'm also going to test this off to the side, make sure it's ready to go. Okay, that one's good. It's all over my foot. And Rain-X is now on the drawing board. Finally, we have the Kiwi fabric protector. All of these have a recommended drying time. I think the minimum between the three is 1 hour. So to save us all time here, I'm going to end the video, or to save us all time here, I'm going to end this portion of the video early, but I will be applying a second coat off camera to make sure we have good coverage. Alright? See you in a second. And here's another quick update. Since it is triple-digit weather outside in California and sunny, somehow it still started pouring rain while these were drying outside. I ran out as fast as I could, pulled them up here, set them back down on the counter, but you can see some of the masking tape has started to curl up. Not so much on the Rain-X, or no, that's the Kiwi one. So the experiment will continue, but we may not have the cleanest edges. Okay, we are back, and I've been able to apply a few layers of the hydrophobic coatings to the canvases we're going to be working with. I'm going to show you some close-ups of each of the surfaces right now, and you can see that along the edges and on the canvas in general, it did leave a residue, it did leave a very certain discoloration to the canvas itself. It's not horrible, and I imagine that if this works successfully with the paint separating, I imagine you won't be able to tell the discoloration, but it is definitely obvious if you were to look at it at an empty canvas. So let's take a look at that discoloration right now. Okay, we're going to get started with the generic brand hydrophobic coating. I went ahead, added some paint together, get that light on it. We got some pink, some purple, neon yellow, green, and a tiny bit of gold in there. I'm going to do this with the flip cup style. Try and get it as centered as I can within that little square we set up. And we're going to see exactly how well the hydrophobic coating took effect. Give it a couple seconds, give it a few taps whenever you do a flip cup to allow the paint to hit the bottom of the cup and the top of the canvas, and let's see how this plays out. So it's not immediately apparent if there's going to be any kind of distinction based off the hydrophobic coating. It's not really pooling off or running away. It is a really pretty color though. It almost reminds me of a candy, maybe a little watermelon flavor. I'm gonna dry my hands a little bit, get some of the paint to lose its wetness so that I can start grabbing other stuff without wasting a napkin. I got my butane torch. Ooh, big ol' cells popping up in here. I actually didn't even use silicone this time around, mostly because of the volume of paint I was working with. Sometimes if you let the silicone settle too long, it can affect the results of the paint. It might bubble up, or the acrylic might get a little gummy along the surface, so I didn't even bother with the silicone on top. But this is actually a pretty lovely little pour, regardless of if it slides off or not. In the meantime, it looks like we might just have to wait and see if anything happens once the paint is completely dried out, at which point there may be an opportunity where the coating we applied won't keep the paint. Until then, we're going to move on to the next one. Let me get you a shot of this painting, and then we're going to start with the Rain-X coating. Okay, we're ready for round two. This is the surface treated with Rain-X. Have the same colors prepared in the same order into our flip cup here. Get that centered. Tippity tap. Let some of this paint come off, and whoop. Let's give this one a try. I like the colors. The gold seems to be taken over this time around. Getting a lot more gold in the first pour, and I'm using my finger to spread paint over the edges of the canvas, make sure we get nice even coverage, because even if the Rain-X, or after this even if the Kiwi don't repel the paint, these are still going to look good. I still want to have that personal pride as an artist and make sure I'm delivering quality pieces whenever possible. So let's see how these play out. Again, it looks like the hydrophobic coating was not enough to repel the paint. I'm wondering if this has something to do with how thick the paint is, because I did play around with it a bit, try to sprinkle some water, just make sure it wasn't one of those like made on TV situations where it doesn't work as well as it does. And it seemed to repel water well enough, but I think the paint might just be a little bit too heavy for it. Get the surface again with this butane torch, run that over it. I think I like this one even more than the first. At least right now while it's wet. Could always look different when it dries, right? Empty this little cup out. And we'll get a closer look at this one together, yeah? Alright, it looks like it's time to do the third and final water repellent surface test here. This is the one treated with the Kiwi fabric protector spray. And I'm going to show you the pour this time because I'm sure there would be more than a couple of you who are disappointed if we didn't get to at least see the pour being prepared once, right? So we got some purple in there. It's kind of like light blue. We got the pinks. Since this is a larger cup, I'm pouring from a little higher up to make sure these blend well enough. Some of that neon yellow really stands out well with these other colors. Finally, some of this gold. Let me pull the light over so we can see this. It's a little too bright for the camera, huh? Okay, you be a good light. Alright, you know what this means. Center it. Flip it. And set it back down. Alright. Again, tap this, make sure the paint can get out. And at least while these are all wet, it looks like we're not going to see much success on the hydrophobic coating. I'm going to do one more. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get some of each coating. I'm not even going to bother protecting it with masking tape. I'm just going to saturate each edge, each corner, with one of the 3 water repellents that we were testing earlier, and I'm going to see if there's any amount of this stuff that you can use to create shapes with the paint, because it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me that not even a single one of these wouldn't produce any kind of results showing a clear water repellent ability with this water-based, water-mixed acrylic paint. So I'm going to get another close-up of this shot, and then I'm going to go off on the sidelines, get that final piece ready, soak the corners up real nice with some water repellent spray, and then I'm going to show you pictures of what that final one turns out like. Alright, in the meantime, let's take a look at this guy. Alright, welcome back. Alright, welcome back. I have labeled every side of this board. We've got the Kiwi fabric protector, we have Rain-X on this corner, we have the generic windshield treatment, and we have varnish. I sealed the edge with the varnish first and then added the Kiwi coating. As I was working with this and decorating the other 3 corners, I thought to myself, it is extremely strange that the chemicals I use for this would work so well with water, but they wouldn't do anything on a canvas or with paint. So I sealed this first. I think what may have caused the lack of paint repellent properties is that the canvas soaked it up too much and it ended up inside instead of staying on top of the surface. So we'll find out if these 3 fail the test again, but the sealant edge is successful. In that case, the conclusion will be varnish or seal whatever area you want to be water repellent, and then apply the water repellent spray. Also want to point out that on the original test, I only added about 3 coats of repellent. This time around I added 6, so we have double the strength of water repellent on the canvas, and let's give it a shot. In order to clean up, in order to do some cleanup and make room for all this testing, I already poured the colors out ahead of time, so no more paint mixing, but I have the cup here ready to go. It is upside down, center, and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Alright, let's see how this is working. Give it a quick rotate here. Well, it may have been my imagination, but I felt like it moved a little more slowly out of the center. The edges are still holding on. There's still paint on all the edges, so if the water repellent had been successful, even if there was too much paint on the surface, the edges would have still pushed the paint off the sides, because the assistance the paint would be getting from gravity to be repelled. So looking at all this, I don't know if there's a way that we can successfully get a water repellent coating on the paint. I was thinking about doing some stencil work and a couple of the cool ideas with that, where masking tape alone wouldn't suffice. But unless we have a much different look when all this paint is dry, we can conclude that the water repellent surface isn't going to fly or be effective for painting scenarios like this. That's okay though. I still like the way these look. These will be great paintings. And I'm going to do one more painting on a larger canvas here, because I do really like the color scheme, so I'm going to do a larger one. No surface treatment applied. Let me set this off to the side. We'll do that, and then I have some more news for you guys at the end of the video here. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and dirty pour this out while I share the news I wanted to bring up with y'all. I wanted to say I'm extremely grateful for all the attention that you've given me watching the channel, leaving your comments, liking the videos, all of that. It means a lot to me. I read everything you write, and I'm so flattered that I could have already reached enough subscribers to get a custom URL, which will make it easier to find me at youtube.com/c/souffleart, one word. I thought I was going to have to wait a lot longer for that. I really didn't think I'd have much luck starting off on this YouTube thing. I have little to no video editing experience, and just in general, I wasn't expecting this kind of reception. I'm certainly no celebrity or anything like that. I'm not trying to brag here, but the attention you've given me, I'm extremely grateful for. And as a way of saying thank you, I want to hold a giveaway. So there will be a separate post coming up soon in which I go over the process for entering the giveaway, how to win, as well as the prizes. So keep an eye out for that. And again, thank you so much for watching and commenting, subscribing. I really can't stress enough how much it means to me. So thank you for that, and I will always work my hardest to provide interesting content for you to see. Okay, I'm just going to film this conclusion on my phone because I don't feel like setting the whole camera up. But you can see from all of these that even after drying, none of the little box shapes that we outlined with masking tape were strong enough to repel the paint with any of the hydrophobic coatings we applied. I wouldn't recommend it. I think it's just a little too viscous, a little too dense to properly shape your paint. If you want to have areas of the canvas left unpainted, it's probably best to just leave masking tape on those areas rather than some kind of hydrophobic applicator. I do want to point out, on one of these canvases I noticed that there were a lot of bubbles underneath the canvas, and I thought maybe that was the paint drying over the canvas with kind of a bubble like between the paint and the canvas underneath. So I took a little razor blade and carefully cut it open, but you can see it's just the canvas panel directly underneath. So this was probably the worst intended effect, was that instead of separating paint from the canvas, we separated the paint and the canvas from the board underneath. So one of these coatings, this was the generic windshield treatment, separated the canvas from the board underneath entirely, which creates these warps, these little bubbles, and that's probably one of the worst effects I've seen on a canvas. So skip that one for sure. And in general, We get some good colors, some good panels out of this, but I wouldn't recommend using hydrophobic sprays. Thank you for watching.